I welcome each one of you to our weekly Thursday program of Food from the Heart and to the Heart. It consists of a brief spiritual presentation followed by silent adoration before the Blessed Sacrament, the Novena prayer, and the final blessing. We begin now with a hymn which will introduce the theme. I wandered far away from God. Now I am coming home. The paths of sin too long I've trod. Lord, I am coming home. Coming home, coming home, never more to roam. Open are thine arms of love. Lord, I am coming home. The themes of today are interrelated, and they have to do with sin and forgiveness. There was the vizier of a ruler who was caught stealing. The vizier is the highest position in the court of a kingdom. And the ruler caught him, and they were very well acquainted. And the ruler felt bad because the rule in that kingdom was that anyone who was caught stealing had to be hanged till death. And even though the vizier was his confidant, a very close friend, the rule had to apply. And so the vizier was handcuffed and put in prison. But even as he was in prison, he was allowed one final wish. And he was asked what he wished for. And he said that he wanted to meet the ruler face to face. The message was conveyed to the ruler, and the ruler went down to the prison to meet his vizier, his confidant, his friend. He was feeling quite terrible because even though he did not want to do what he had to do, he had to do it. He had no choice. The vizier took the king's hands in his and tried to console the king because he knew how bad the king felt for him. And then he said to the king, I want to tell you a very, very special secret. And I want all the courtiers to come around here and hear that secret. So the king sent a message to all the courtiers who came down now to the prison and were gathered around the vizier and the king. And so the vizier began. My lord, he said to the king, in my home, under my pillow, I have a seed. And that seed is the seed of an apple tree. And that seed if sowed into the ground overnight, will turn into a tree in which there will be hundreds and hundreds of apples. And what is more, is that any seed from any of those apples on that tree can be put into the ground in a different place, and there will be a tree overnight and hundreds of apples, and the kingdom will flourish with these apples. So the king was quite surprised. He says, I will send somebody to your home right now because we need this kind of fruit, we need this kind of tree, we need this kind of seed. But the vizier said, my lord, there is only one condition for the apple tree to flower overnight. And the king asked, what is that condition? The vizier said, it had to be sown into the ground. It has to be sown into the ground by someone who has never stolen in his or her life. Someone who has never stolen in his or her life has to plant that seed into the ground. If a person has stolen and plants the seed into the ground, the seed will not flower, the apple tree will not come to life. And so the king looked around at his courtiers, and everyone looked away, because everyone knew that at some time or another they had stolen, even if it was something small, and they did not dare to take that seed and put it into the ground, lest they also be put into the same prison as the vizier and hanged to death. But then the king himself realized that the vizier was trying to teach him a lesson, and he released the vizier. My dear brothers and sisters, Paul summarizes this story very beautifully in one verse, Romans 3:23, when he says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All, not a single one is exempt. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And Peter has many, many lovable qualities. But the most lovable quality of Peter for me is narrated in Luke chapter 5, verse 8. When he encounters Jesus, whom he does not really know so well. It is just the beginning of the ministry of Jesus, and he does not know him so well, and there is a miraculous catch right at the beginning of the ministry of Jesus in Peter's boat in Luke chapter 5. In Luke chapter 5, verse 8 is a verse which brings out the wonderful personality of Peter, and which I think every one of us must learn from, and every one of us must recite daily, which is, depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. What a beautiful statement. A statement which is so filled with meaning, a statement which, if I believe in my heart, I will never, never condemn another. And that brings me now to the second related aspect of this presentation, which I termed as forgiveness. Now, forgiveness can be condescending, and most times forgiveness is condescending. Let me tell you the reality. When is it that you feel the need to forgive. You feel the need to forgive when you think, notice my words, not when you are hurt, but when you think wrongly that you are hurt. And why do you think wrongly that you are hurt? Because you have expectations. You expect your husband, you expect your wife, you expect your parents, you expect your neighbor, you expect your children to behave in a particular way, to do a particular thing. Now, whether that expectation is genuine or legitimate, we will discuss in a moment. But you expect your spouse, your children, your neighbor, your parents, whoever it might be, you expect them to behave in a particular manner. And they don't behave in that manner. They don't behave in that manner. So what you do, you get hurt. You get upset. You get frustrated. And then, if they come and apologize, if they come and say, I'm sorry, I never behaved in that manner, I never did what I said I would do, I never did what you expected me to do, then you say, okay, I forgive you. Now that can be condescending. That can be with a superiority complex. Yes, you hurt me and I am forgiving you. We notice that there is only one instance in the whole of the scriptures, Luke chapter 23, verse 34, in which Jesus forgives something concerning himself. He does forgive the woman who is washing his feet of her sins. He does forgive the paralytic led down, but he forgives them their sins. There is only one instance when Jesus forgives something concerning himself, but if we read deeply into that text, Jesus actually not forgiving. He's not even asking the Father to forgive when he says in Luke 23:34, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You see, he finds a reason. He finds a reason which is their ignorance. He finds a reason which is their unawareness. So even that is not forgiveness. In John chapter 8, in John chapter 8, verses 1 to 8. The religious leaders bring a woman to Jesus who they consider has sinned, who they consider is guilty of adultery, who they consider has to be stoned. And they ask Jesus his opinion. And Jesus bends down and writes with his finger on the ground because he realizes that they are accusers, that they are condemners, that they want to take action like the king wanted to take action on his vizier. And so this woman, like the vizier, is in prison. But it's not the woman who speaks. Jesus speaks on her behalf, and he says something which is akin to what the vizier told his king: if anyone is without sin, let him be the first to cast the stone. And he bends down and writes with his finger a second time. Why does he bend down and write with his finger a second time? Because he will not even condemn the condemners. He will not even condemn the religious leaders. And then we notice he does not forgive the woman because the woman does not really need forgiveness. What does he say to the woman? He says, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? And she says, no one, Lord. And he then says, not I forgive you, but neither do I condemn you. My dear friends, if you do not condemn, you would not need to forgive. It's because you are first guilty of condemnation that you feel the need to forgive. And so today, if we can take 3 verses for our reflection and ask the Lord for the grace to make them our own. The first, Romans chapter 3, verse 23. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. When I say all have sinned, I have sinned also. I have fallen short of the glory of God. The second verse, Luke chapter 5, verse 8. Depart from me, Lord. Depart from me, Lord. I am a sinful man. I am a sinful woman. I am a sinful person. Depart from me, Lord. I know who I am. I know where I stand. And believe me, my brothers and sisters, this realization will bring about a catharsis in your heart. Will bring about a catharsis in your heart, and that will lead not to your forgiving someone. No, it will lead to your not condemning anyone. All have sinned. Depart from me, Lord, which will lead to non-condemnation. Amen. I've sinned against my brother too. I've sinned against my sister too. Now I'm coming home. By judging them, I've judged you. Lord, I'm coming home, coming home, coming home, never more to roam. Open are thine arms of love. Lord, I am coming home. We will now have silent adoration before the Blessed Sacrament, followed by the Novena prayer and the final blessing. The petitions that are placed here are representative of all those who visited the shrine in the last week, and also those who have the intentions in their hearts but cannot visit the shrine for one reason or another. You are all in our prayers, and the infant Jesus blesses each one of you. Let us now recite the Novena prayer with faith and confidence in the infant Jesus. All together. O Jesus, you said, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened to you. Through the intercession of Mary, your most holy mother, I knock, I seek and I ask that my prayer may be granted. Make your petition, but kindly make a petition for another person also. I bring all the sick and the invalids before the Lord and ask him to be their solace and their strength. All together. O Jesus, you said, all that you ask of the Father in my name, he will grant you. Through the intercession of Mary, your most holy mother, I humbly and urgently ask your Father in your name that my prayer may be granted. Make a second petition and kindly make a petition for a second person also. I bring before the Lord all those who imagine that they have been hurt and so think that they need to forgive, that they will be blessed with the grace of non-condemnation. All together. O Jesus, you said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass. Through the intercession of Mary, your most holy mother, I feel confident that my prayer will be granted. Make a third petition and kindly make a petition for a third person also. We make this prayer to infant Jesus in your name, who with the Father and the Holy Spirit lives and reigns forever and ever. We thank you all for your participation. Have a good and non-condemning night. God bless you all.